He's a safety, mashallah, and so he's just going to talk to you guys a little bit about what he does, inshallah, all right? Give it up for him.
All right. Assalamu alaikum. How's everybody doing? Alhamdulillah. Okay, this little guy to my left, this is my son. His name is Jalal. He's 7 years old, and we've been traveling together. We actually just came back from, we made Umrah, went to Mecca, went to Medina, and we also spent about 5-6 days in Doha. So that was pretty cool. And going out there, I had the opportunity to teach the game of football and talk to youth like yourselves over there. So that was quite the experience for myself. And it was mainly, they asked kind of the same questions that I'm going to be answering tonight, which is how do you balance? How do you find balance? And that's something that's always changing, because as we know as Muslims that everybody has a right over us. Your mother has a right over you, your father, your brother, none of you guys are married, but my wife, my children, everybody has a right over you. So it's, how do you continuously, have that balance? And then not even only that, in the job that I have, playing in the National Football League, having a high profile job, having a very public job, these are all things that are very difficult. But it just comes down to really just having certainty in your heart and knowing that Allah is watching over you in everything that you do. So in regardless of what it is, whether it's going to the grocery store, whether it's being a teacher and you have to listen to your student, it's just trying to be right with Allah in everything that you do, trying to be right with Allah. And if you err on the side of caution, that's okay, as long as you're not just pushing boundaries all the time. So always keep that in mind, have that fear of Allah, have that taqwa of Allah, and that'll be the start to attaining balance. I'll also say, I play football for a living. I don't give lectures for a living, so I really don't like just sitting up here blabbing at the mouth. So pretty soon we're going to get into a lot of question and answer, and sometimes I may take somebody's question and flip it on somebody else just to hear what you guys say, because I grew up in a different time era than the world in which you guys are growing up right now. Like this little guy, Abdul Rahman, this dude got an iPhone, and he's 12, 13 years old? Yeah? I just got my first iPhone last year. Like man, this is blowing my mind. Like I don't even think I got my first cell phone until I was 18, getting ready to go to college. So we're living in a different world. So I can give you guys some of my experiences, but how fast and how rapid everything is changing. I also want to hear from you guys as well. Number one, we're Muslims, right? We're Muslims, right? Yeah. They said, well, in the Quran it says we are the best of mankind. So we're Muslims, right? Okay, that's number one. A Muslim knows how to behave themselves, correct? Yes. Correct? Yes. And we're at the masjid, right? We're at the masjid, right? So you're on your best behavior when we're at the house of Allah, correct? Yeah. And it's the month of Ramadan, right? Yeah. So, we're Muslim. A Muslim is someone who submits their will to Allah and Islam. You're not Muslim because your parents are Muslim. You're not Muslim because your community is Muslim. You're not Muslim because people from your country is Muslim. You're Muslim because you submit your will to Allah and Islam. That's what makes you a Muslim. Always remember that, because on the day of judgment, you will not be next to your parents, you will not be next to your brother or sister, you will be by yourself. All right? So the same thing when you say I'm a Muslim, I'm a Muslim. My parents are Muslim, alhamdulillah, but I'm a Muslim because I submit my will to Allah and Islam. Now, I want to hear from you guys. Somebody throw questions up. It can be about life. It can be about whatever. I don't mind. Do we have?
I was gonna ask you what's your work ethic during Ramadan and then outside of Ramadan?
Okay.
How often do you work out and stuff like that?
Great question. Okay, so I've been fasting and playing sports my entire life. I started fasting at the age of 7, and I remember I used to complain to my mother there's no way you can go out there and play at recess and be fasting. All these other kids drinking water, why I can't drink no water? You know, that's how I was. And then even when I started playing football, I'm like, it is impossible to play football and fast at the same time. And for us growing up, we used to look at Hakeem Olajuwon. He plays center for the Houston Rockets. I believe he's a Hall of Famer. And he fasted and he played during the finals and he won MVP. So my mom was like, that's the proof right there. So then from there, it just became something to where I had to really kind of structure myself. So during the month of Ramadan, when I train on my own, I work out early in the morning. So my workout probably starts at like 7 in the morning. I would go earlier if I could, but that's what time the trainers get to the facility I work out up in McKinney. So I work out like 7 in the morning because you still have to be smart. You don't want to say, hey, someone said you can fast and you go in the middle of the day, it's 110 degrees outside, it's very humid, you haven't slept right, you haven't ate right. I mean, you're gonna go out there and you're gonna pass out. That's not something that we want. What we want is you have to eat right. You have to eat clean. Push the junk food aside. Push the soda aside. Drink water. Drink natural juices. I drink stuff like coconut water. Stuff like Pedialyte or Gatorade. Because you have to be hydrated. That's probably the number one thing, the most important thing. But then even foods, you have to eat as clean a food you can. Some of you guys probably don't even eat vegetables right now. Like, I don't need vegetables. I don't need fruits. I'm a well-oiled machine. Eat your vegetables. Eat your fruits. You're going to need it. And then you have to sleep properly. Because if you're running on 2 hours of sleep, and then now you go out there to compete, and like I said, it's 95, 100 degrees, you're going to pass out. So if you really want to hold your fast and you want to participate in activities, you have to do everything you can. You have to eat right, you have to sleep right, you have to do everything you can. Then you have to know your body. You have to know that there's sometimes where I have to scale it back sometimes where I can ramp it up some. You have to know where you're at, how you're feeling. And then even on top of all that, you have to make do that Allah protects you. So that's kind of how I do during the month of Ramadan. Outside of the month of Ramadan, I mean, we just get after it. It kind of becomes a lifestyle when you get to this age and this level. As a kid, at first it just starts off as playing all the time. I mean, I know you guys are attached to devices a lot, but we didn't have that. And even from my family, we didn't even have the latest video game device. Like when people had Nintendo 64, we was getting a Nintendo. Like, so we were behind. So we played outside a lot. So now it just becomes a lifestyle to where, I mean, that's what we do. We just continue always working out. But that's a very good question. Come on with it. You look like you're gonna ask me something tough, man. Ah, dog.
Who's your favorite quarterback to play against?
To play against?
Or favorite football team? Like, who you play against, like... Who's your favorite quarterback to play against? Like, they respect.
Whoever throws me interceptions, of course. Whoever's giving away freebies that day, that's who I want to play against. But no, I didn't get McNabb. McNabb was on my team for a while though. But no, that was Vic. But no, it was. I mean, everybody in the National Football League is good, regardless of what people say in the media and different things like that. I mean, some people perform very well at their job. Some people perform not so well, and some people are great at some things and not so great at other things. And that's why, we game plan and we try to scheme people up, because my job as a defender is to try to bring the worst out of somebody who plays offense. Their job on offense is to attack me and all my weak spots, and pretty much whoever does the best job is going to win the game.
So I was checking out your Instagram, and your latest post was talking about TB, throwback, Ramadan, like getting better and stuff.
Right.
So what could you say to us, because you're like Roman and stuff? What can we do to better ourselves?
Okay.
And you're talking about that balance. How do we find that balance?
Okay. That's a very good question. Yeah, there you go. All right. So he said he checked out my latest Instagram post, and it was talking about like I hear this term where I didn't start hearing it until a couple years ago because I really wasn't a part of a huge Muslim community like this growing up, and the term was Ramadan Muslims. And I was like, what the heck is that? And it's pretty much people who attend the masjid, year round, and who are doing a great job themselves. When people begin coming to the masjid during the month of Ramadan to seek forgiveness, to seek the rewards, to seek the blessings, they label them. And that's not a good thing to do, because by you labeling them, they may turn away from the masjid. They love Allah. They love His messenger. But the real problem, they have a problem with the people who are coming. So the manners, so someone who comes to the masjid all the time, you should have the best manners. And when you see somebody you haven't seen in a long time, you should encourage them. You should be like, hey, I'm happy to see you back. If you guys see a sister who typically doesn't wear hijab, now she has on hijab as Ramadan, encourage her. Encourage her so she can continue that out of Ramadan. They build up enough courage right now during the month of Ramadan to fast, to come to the masjid, to do all these different things. And then when you get here, you could be the reason why they turn around and they don't come back for another year. So when people do come in, welcome them. Even if they're non-Muslim, if they come in here, it is your obligation to welcome them. It is your obligation to roll out the red carpet for them, to show them a good time. That's what we're supposed to do as Muslims. Want for your brother what you want for yourself. Same thing with the sisters. You see somebody struggling, you help them. You don't contribute to their destruction. And if you want to attain balance, those are the things you have to do. Because there's going to be a time in life where you fall and you're weak, and you're going to need somebody to help you out. And if somebody gives you the exact opposite, it can push you further away. This is what we need. This is how we get better. This is how we get closer to Allah, by coming here. This has to be a safe haven for everybody, not just for the people who go to school here, not just for the people whose parents work here, for everybody. So if you may not see somebody all the time, if they may only step in here once every 2 weeks, when they come in here, you greet them with a smile. You give them a hug, and you encourage them to try to come more often. That's a very good question. Anything from the sister side?
Can I talk from here?
Okay, go ahead.
This is a little personal.
Go for it.
I hope you can answer it. You said you were married, mashallah.
Mm-hmm.
So was it arranged, or how did you Was your marriage arranged?
No, my marriage was.
So then what
My marriage was not arranged. I was in college. I seen someone. I was like, yeah, look, seems about right. Let's get to talking. Was able to talk to her parents, talk to my parents. We got married. I'm African American. My wife is a Samoan. I know in people who are from certain cultures, there's like a real stronghold on when it comes to marriage. And even in terms of a Muslim community, that's something that's a real issue, because some people, they don't want people marrying outside of their race. It's like they're ready to disown somebody, right? If you marry outside your race. Then I've heard it's even more specific. It has to be from a specific location and a specific all kinds of stuff. So that's something that's very new to me, and fortunately for myself and for this guy, because he wouldn't be here, right? We didn't have to go through that.
When you were
Yeah, everybody.
when you were young, did you want to become a football player or something else?
When I was young, I used to just play. I actually love basketball probably more than I do love football, or used to. Basketball was like my first love in terms of sports. But I mean, we used to, seriously, my dad used to say, if I see you inside the house, I'm going to make you do something. He would have us do random stuff, go wash the walls, go sweep the floor, go do this, go turn over the yard, like just dig up the yard for no apparent reason. So we used to run outside and go play. Like we used to play until they dragged us back inside. So I mean, we used to play football, basketball, baseball, soccer, whatever it was. We used to just stay outside and play. And it wasn't kind of until I got to high school and I seen people getting full scholarships for being good in athletics. And I was like, man, just for being good in sports, I don't got to pay for school? So I was like, that sounds like a good deal. So, you know, and then I started, and I realized I wasn't going to be 6'5", and have a silky smooth crossover and a jumper and all that kind of stuff. So I was like, let me go, like my body, the way my body is, football is more, you know, my size. So I went and I started playing football, and, you know, I was able to get a full ride scholarship. And then when I got to the college level, I was able to see some guys on the team, their work ethic, the stuff they put in, and they were able to go to the NFL. So now all of a sudden the NFL became a reality. It wasn't something distant. So that's kind of it wasn't like I was like, I'm guaranteed going to the NFL, because the chances are slim to none. Yes.
Okay, so like I'm in college right now, and like you being an NFL player and all that, how do you keep a balance between like your social life, because it's kind of stereotypical that players go out like clubbing and drinking?
They do.
And like having
It's not stereotypical, that's what they do.
So how, and like kind of similar to college, like you want to go out with your friends, but your friends are doing something that's not really morally like correct and like Islam and everything. So how do you keep a balance between those?
Get new friends. No, I'm being real. Like that's what you have to do, and that's what it took me a while to realize that I had to weed out certain people. I'm like, man, I really love this dude, but I can't be around him because he's pulling me to some stuff that I know I'm not supposed to be doing. And it's that simple. Same thing with some of my teammates. They're like, come on, Sam, why don't you just go? Nah, I know how y'all get down. I can't mess with y'all. I'm going home. Like, but seriously, you have to get new friends. You have to surround yourself with good people. Even if the person is Muslim and they're falling into that stuff, you help them out. But when they're going to do that stuff and it's to the point to where you can't get on no more, you have to find someone else. And for me, outside of playing with my older brother Hamza, I've never played with another Muslim on the team. So for me, I always had to find people who were like-minded. So people who had morals like myself, and people who were devout in their faith. So some of my best friends are Christians, Jehovah's Witness, because they were like, no, I'm going to stick to the law. So I was like, okay, I can roll with this dude, because he's not going to take me out, and we're not going to go do this, or we're not going to be riding in the car and he's going to say, I have to make a quick stop. Nah, buddy. Like we have an understanding. So for me, but you have to figure out who can I hang out with, because we all need friendship. We all need companionship, but it's a matter of finding good people, because the person may not be Muslim now, but by you hanging out with them, Allah may guide them through, you know what I mean, through you. So find good people, and I don't care how much you like your friends. I don't care. Like seriously, if they're trying to pull you to destruction, you got to cut them off. It's that simple. You got to end up.
Were you ever bullied or discriminated in school?
Was I ever bullied? That's a good question. So it's kind of like a yes and a no. So I grew up in an area where people fought over everything. Like people, like seriously, like school was just as like school was kind of like, it was like survival mode, going to school on a day in and day out basis. So if your shirt was dingy, if your pants wasn't ironed, if your shoes was stepped on or had a hole in them, you'll get talked about. Then if they sense weakness, they might beat you up. And it was that simple. And for me, I was a little dude. Like I was like 100 pounds as a freshman in high school. So people used to want to try me. Fortunate for me, you know, I'm from a large family. There's 8 boys in my family. Then my cousins were there. So it was like, okay, at least I know they're gonna fight me. I got reinforcement. I got backup. But nobody really messed with me, because it started to become known that I didn't really get involved in like gang banging and stuff like that, which that was in the area. And people were just like, man, he just played sports. Like that was it. Like, and that's kind of how I rolled. But even still, it's something to where you can't just, don't give somebody a reason to pick on you. You cannot give somebody a reason to pick on you. If someone's picking on you and they're pushing you around, learn how to fight. Because at some point he's going to take it to the next level and you better be able to defend yourself. All right? And then when you go, have a good appearance. Be able to walk and walk strong. Don't walk and just look like if someone taps you, you're just going to tip over on the side. You know what I mean? Like, you have to be able to walk confident. Right? Don't give somebody a reason, because there are people out there and that's all they're looking for, because to them it's just going to be a boost in their credibility. So do not give anybody a reason. Then again, hang around with some good people, with some good friends, to where if something happens, they will have your back. You need that in life. You have to have that in life.
I've noticed a lot of times that when non-Muslims ask Muslims, like teenagers, questions about our religion, we get really defensive and kind of mean. And I really don't like that. Like, they're specifically curious, and a lot of them start to gang up on that non-Muslim friend and say, like, yeah, ours is better, you shouldn't do this, you shouldn't do that, you should become Muslim, like, totally limiting them.
Right.
What would you say about that?
She's saying that a lot of times when people ask us about our religion, we get defensive, which is very, very true. And that's actually, the exact opposite of what we should be as Muslims. When someone asks you a question, they could just they might just not know. They've heard something in the passing conversation, they saw something in the media, and they're like, oh, this is how you guys are. And it can be very upsetting, but for you just have to calm down, and then you just have to tell them, no, this is how it really is. Have you yourself ever read the Quran? Have you ever done this or that? And you just talk to them. That's all you have to do, is just talk to them, because you never know who can become Muslim from a good conversation. But if you get defensive, it's like, oh yeah, he is hiding something, or she is hiding something. They really are like this. So just talk to people, and even some of my friends now. I have one friend, and we talk about religion all the time, right? And I noticed that about myself. We were talking, and I got real defensive. And then next thing you know, but at the same time, I got real defensive, but I'm trying to give him dawah, and now we're just like butting heads. So regardless of what I say, even if he recognizes it as the truth, he's not going to accept it, because now he's in an argument, and he has to win the argument. We don't want to get to that stage. Just tell him what's true and just tell him what's real. But if you're mean when you do it, then they don't care. Then they're not going to accept it. So yeah, that's a very good point, and we should not be defensive.
How old were you when you started football?
I was about 8, 9 years old. Yeah. So I've been playing football about 20 years now. So yeah, I've been playing for quite a while. Like I said, it starts as just having fun, and then it becomes a lifestyle, and you start to have a drive towards it. And white shirt.
What is the meaning of life?
That's a good question, because some people may not know. Seriously. No, seriously. That's a good question, because some people may not know. And I'm not too good with Arabic, but Allah says He only created men and jinn for one purpose, and that is to what? Worship Him. That's the meaning of life.
Alright, my question was, you mentioned you got a full scholarship, so like the academics play a role, like, and if it did, like, how'd you balance school and academics?
That's a good question as well. Academics definitely played a role. You can't I don't care if you're the greatest thing since sliced bread, if you fail all your classes, nobody's going to take you. Like, there may be someone willing to push you through, but nobody's going to take you. And I would say that I was probably the 6th or 7th best player on my high school football team. There was a lot of people better than me, but they didn't have grades. They didn't have a good enough attitude or good enough character. So there was recruiters come, and they're like, man, this guy's a great athlete, but I'd rather take him because he's a better human being. And that's why I was able to get chances. So if you're not good to people, if you're not respectful to your teachers, if you're not doing your assignments, what does that say about you? So if someone puts an assignment in front of you, you do it. If you need help, just ask for help. I'm not saying you're going to ace everything, but at least put forth the effort. Sisters. Nothing? Hold on. Nothing? Okay, Batman. Look at the socks, check the socks.
In your football career, did you ever, like, at a certain point, did you ever think that your career was over?
That's a good question. So, in the game of football, people see the NFL as the National Football League, but what people in the NFL say is called not for long, because people don't last that long. I've seen my rookie year, I had my locker mate, so this guy is Jalal. Then I go to the bathroom and come back, it's Abdul Rahman. Then I go to the bathroom and come back, it's a guy named Jamal. Then I go to the bathroom and come back, it's a guy named Chris. That's kind of how fast people get thrown in and out of the NFL. It happens quickly. So we have a job that if you like, they evaluate you at every single second. They evaluate you in the off season. They evaluate you on the practice field. They evaluate you how you deal with people. And if they feel your performance isn't on par, you'll be chopped instantly. So alhamdulillah, I've lived that way and been able to, stay above water. Now I'm going into 6 years, but it's not an easy profession. So there's a lot of times where it's like, I was close. Looking back when I was close, but it was something alhamdulillah I was able to push through.
Okay, when the women, the girls ask questions, they can't hear because there's a culture of niggas talking, so if you could repeat their question.
Gotcha.
Thank you.
Yes. She asks, has anyone stereotyped or been prejudiced because I'm a Muslim? And you're talking about in the NFL? Okay, so that's a good question, and not really. I mean, guys in our league, they don't care. They just care about if you can play football or not. Now, we'll say when you're in the locker room, everything goes. Like when you're in the locker room, everything goes. So you have to, they say, grow thick skin, because people will talk about the most sensitive things to your face and laugh in your face, and it's just kind of the culture that we're in. So people have said some jokes here and there. Of course, the most one I get is the bacon jokes. Like that's probably the most common thing I get. But it's all in fun and games. But if there is someone who crosses the line, then you just tell them, hey, that's too far. You just tell them you crossed the line. But in terms of someone saying, oh, I can't talk to this guy, or I don't want to deal with this guy, I don't whatever because he's a Muslim, that hasn't happened and really doesn't happen. And alhamdulillah, because of doing things like fasting and playing the sport, there's a lot of people who gained a new appreciation for Islam and a new respect for Islam. Because some people are like, I don't know how you do it, and I wouldn't do it, like straight up. So there's a new respect level, and that's something that as a Muslim, if you want to give dawah, you be the best Muslim that you can be, and then you don't even have to speak a word, and people will be like, that's a Muslim right there, and you'll be good. Yo.
I heard you took a trip and you made Umrah. You went to Mecca and Medina. What was the highlight of your trip?
Which time? This past time, a couple years ago. The most recent one? So the most recent time, I actually just came back. I got back Thursday. Came back, was able to go make Umrah, was able to go to Medina, was able to go to Doha, like I said in the beginning of the talk. And probably the biggest thing, the best thing was I got to take this guy. I got to travel with just my son and I. My wife and my daughter, they don't like that, but yeah, but my son and I, we got to go together, and it was just it was a good trip, because now I get to know more of his personality, he gets to know more of my personality. We can joke around, we can have fun, we can be in different situations. That's how you get to know somebody, is traveling with them. So now we get to see each other in a different light instead of always at home or picking them up from school. Now we're in a foreign country together. So, you know, there was a lot of good things, but the biggest thing is being able to take my son to the house of Allah, to Mecca, to the masjid of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam in Medina, and to be able to go and do these different things and explain to him and show him a new part of life. Because for myself, I was kind of boxed in until like 22, 23. I didn't really have a grand scope of the world. I knew there was stuff on the map, but I didn't leave the country until 26, 27. So being able to take him at the age of 7, now it already broadens his horizon from jump. And inshallah, we get to take more trips. Did you have fun? Okay, he had fun. So inshallah, we'll take more trips. But yeah, that was my biggest takeaway. Man, normally whenever I come to a place with youth or my brothers, like the sisters always have like these real like life questions. Like every time like a sister raises her hand, it's like, all right, like I got to prepare. But you guys taking it easy on me. You guys not asking anything, and these guys just want to ask about football and favorite quarterbacks and all that kind of jazz. So we got one?
Mm-hmm. Well, this one's, I don't know how to phrase it correctly, but whatever. So you have a daughter and a son, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what if your daughter wanted to also become an athlete or someone famous in, you know, the limelight, whatever? How would you encourage that as being a Muslim?
Mm-hmm.
Or would you say it's proper to be more reserved and, you know, keep yourself as you're supposed to?
Right. So she's saying that as a parent, and my daughter wants to become an athlete, or my daughter wants to become someone whose career was a high-profile career or something like that. Would I encourage it, or would I just say, just stay in the background? For myself, I encourage it from jump. All of my family members are athletes. Everybody's an athlete. And for me, it's just a matter of as we all know, there's certain like uniforms, just looking at it, like, there's no way a Muslim can play that sport, right? So those are the sports that we're going to steer away from. But I mean, my daughter loves like her favorite class was a drama class. If you want to be an actor, go for it. If that's what you want to do, if you want to be a poet, she likes poetry. If you want to be a poet, go for it. Like, I'm going to encourage whatever her natural ability is. It's just that now, how do you navigate this landscape as a Muslim? Just like me playing football, people can say, that is no place for a Muslim to be. Stay away. But it's like, how do you navigate this landscape as a Muslim? Because through this channel of me playing football, I can reach people that other people can't. I can reach people, there's people who they will never step foot in a masjid, won't come close to a masjid, won't come close to a Muslim community, but they watch football, and through watching football, they learn about Islam, they learn about Ramadan, they learn about Hajj, all because some guy on their favorite team decided to do this. So as a Muslim, we have a lot of opportunity, and we can't shy away from certain things. There's certain things that might be clear we should stay away from, but there's other things that we just can't shy away from stuff. We have to learn how to navigate these different landscapes as a Muslim. I don't know about you, Abdullah. What you got?
I'll go.
Yeah, what you got?
Go. Are you with Germany or Argentina?
Man.
Germany!
You just said Messi and then you said Germany. No, not Brazil. Okay, let's quiet back now. Let's quiet back now. I mean, every team I picked has gotten knocked out. So, I mean, of course I'm rocking with the USA getting knocked out. Then I was like, Netherlands gonna win it. They got knocked out. So, I'm just gonna watch the game. I'm not gonna put anything bad on anybody. Yes.
Alright, so I followed you on Instagram.
Okay.
And I never got a follow back, so.
Really?
It's kind of salty.
You're salty because I didn't follow you back.
Yeah, can you follow me
when did you follow me?
Like 2 days ago.
I told you I was traveling. I was coming from halfway around the world.
You can check your phone.
Huh?
You can check your phone.
What? I don't know. I'm gonna look. This is what I do. I'm telling you, when somebody follows me, I click the button.
Okay.
Then I see what they post. If I'm not with it, I don't follow.
No, you'll like my page.
How many selfies do you have?
Over 9,000.
Like 62? No, just like 2.
You have 62 selfies.
No, I'm kidding. It's like 2. I have a lot of pictures of you. So.
You have pictures of me?
Yeah, I'm a big fan.
Should I be scared, or is that
weird?
Is that a compliment, or is that a?
Can you just follow me back?
Huh? We'll talk afterwards. We'll talk afterwards.
Don't forget.
We'll talk afterwards. How many people have Instagram?
Oh my God. Follow all of us. No.
How many people have Facebook?
Facebook is so.
Okay. How many people's parents know they have all this stuff? And
That's a lie. That's all lie. We all know that. That's all lie.
you guys too?
All those hands.
All right. Hey, when you guys get on that stuff, seriously, when you guys get on that stuff, make sure still that's another landscape that we have to navigate as a Muslim, correct? That's something that we can't get out of hand just because there's a popular hashtag spreading like wildfire, different things like that. We still have to make sure that we carry ourselves as a Muslim, even online. You know, that's a big part of who we are, because now you're behind the screen, you're behind the username, so now people get a little bit more confident. So somebody may say something to you that they will not say to you in person, but you have to make sure as a Muslim you respond correctly, or as a Muslim that you're not the one spreading that stuff. So you don't build yourself up and say, well, I'm sitting here in Richardson, Texas under the username Bismillah 362, so I can do whatever I want. That's not true, because you know Allah is always watching you. And you speak about not only yourself, but you speak about our deen, you speak about Islam. So you make sure when you're navigating that landscape, you remember you are a Muslim.
How many times have you been injured so far?
He asks, how many times have I been injured? Okay, so in football, we talk about being injured and being hurt. Okay? We're always hurt. I mean, you guys see our game. It's very violent. It's very physical. And you have to play. That's just how it is. That's just how we're wired. So we get hurt all the time. Something where me getting hurt, somebody else may see it as an injury, like I can't work for 2 weeks. I actually had a buddy who we actually had the same. He had the same injury that I had, and I actually went to practice the next day, and he has a regular job. He's a doctor. He was out for like 2 weeks. He said, "Oh, shoulder. I can't go to work. All kind of stuff. It's just a difference. We're just wired differently. So I've been injured too, but that hasn't happened too much, alhamdulillah."
So, reflecting on what she said earlier about your daughter trying to pursue something that has to do with the limelight. So if your son or daughter both wanted to pursue something high profile, and obviously in today's world, I guess things that are not permitted in Islam or not halal are what's really popular in terms of like how pop stars are and stuff. So if your son and daughter both want to go into the same industry, how would you differentiate that? Would you treat them equally? Or, because I know in Islam, as much as we try to deny it, girls and boys are differentiated. I mean, guys are allowed to do this, it's okay. Even though it's not halal, it's fine because it's a guy. Girl doesn't make one mistake, oh my God, it's wrong.
Right.
So how would you deal with that? It's very much like you have to avoid anything.
Right. So she's asking me again about being a parent and balancing and not showing favoritism to the boy over the girl, and even if they wanted to go into the same career. And I will say that's not only Islam, that's life. That's how when like you can see anybody. They have a son, they're gonna jump for joy, they're gonna high five, they're gonna do all kind of stuff. They have a daughter, they're gonna say, as long as she's healthy, praise to the God, as long as she's healthy. And you will see that. You'll see families where it's like he's a boy. We're just going to hope that he comes back. But for everybody's daughter, they get real tight. And one is because people love their daughter. Seriously, people are like that because they love you unconditionally. And another thing is just protection. As you get older, you know all the pitfalls in the world. You start to see stuff. And even if my children want to pursue a high-profile, high-level job, I can tell them about, the different things because I've experienced it. So I can tell them about, the negatives. I can tell them about the positives. I can tell them about all these different things. But of course, my concern is going to be more so towards my daughter because she's a female. Females are more emotional, where a guy, I can say, hey, you go do this and you better get it done. And I'm not helping them no more. My daughter, I'm going to be right there and I'm going to try to help guide her all the way. Some people need that, some people don't. But that's not just in Islam, that's in life general. And I mean, I'm pretty sure you can talk to, if you go to public school, you can talk to co-workers, you can talk to anybody, and you'll see how in their family, especially the father's like, I want to keep my daughter. I want to make sure I protect my daughter. Whereas my son is going to be like, all right, I'm just going to let him go a little bit and see if he mess up, see what happens. I'm going to see what happens. But that, I'm seriously, that's just life in general.
What were your opinions on the 2012 Olympics with Ramadan?
Opinions on the 2012 Olympics during Ramadan. That's something where that's like, man, that's a huge challenge for the Muslim athletes, and to the ones who fasted. I mean, for the ones who fasted, that's awesome. For the ones who didn't fast it, there's different rulings and all kind of stuff. I'm not going to give any fatwas, but there's different rulings that say that they don't have to fast. And in order to, like, the Olympics is, I think, is probably the greatest like single event in sports because it happens once every 4 years. So if I'm a track athlete and I run the 200-meter dash, I'm training for 4 years for this one opportunity. And if I get this one opportunity, if I mess up, I may not see another time because now that's another 4 years. I don't know if I'll be as fast or in peak condition or what can happen. And for that to come around and for someone to still say, I'm going to fast for the sake of Allah, that's out of this world, man. May Allah reward them. Okay, we got 2 more questions, so let's make them very, very good.
If there was a big game going on and it was time to pray, would you pray in the stadium or after the game?
That's a good question. And up until now, I pray after the game. I pray when I can. I get kind of, I don't want to say jealous because we see jealousy as a bad word, but when you see Muslim teams in Muslim countries where they can just stop and say it's time for Salat and everybody just prays right there on the field, I look at that like, man, I'm in awe of that. And inshallah, as we progress in this country, and instead of there being one NFL player, there's 8 or there's 20 or there's 50, and you have 5 or 6 of them on the same team, and you can say, hey man, it's time to pray. We got to go pray. That's something to where now that there's a real need. Just like before, they didn't know how to deal with someone who said, I'm not going to eat and I'm still going to go to practice. Alhamdulillah, now that there's been a lot of attention that's been drawn to my brother and I, now they're like, hey, if you have a guy who's fasting because he's a Muslim and he's practicing, this is how you help him out. So as we come up and there becomes a need, then we'll be able to address it. That's a very good question. One from the sister side. None from the sister side? I won't push. I think I had a hand right there.
What's your 40 time?
What?
That's the last question? You're not going to talk about... That's not the last question. No. My 40 time is fast enough. That's how I roll. No, I ran like a high 4.5. I wish I was a 4.2 guy. Them dudes be rolling, Jack. But no, I ran like a high 4.5. Who hasn't asked a question? Who has a good life question where we can all end and be like, MashaAllah. Come on.
Yes,
What are your thoughts on what's happening in Gaza and Palestine?
Man. He asked about what's my thoughts on what's going right now in Israel and Palestine and Gaza, and that's something where, man, it's very heartfelt. It's very upsetting. It's very upsetting because here in America we enjoy so much, and we take stuff for granted. And then it's also very upsetting when we pretend that we're, you know, that we're really doing something by tweeting something. Oh, I tweeted it, so I'm good. But there's still rockets falling on these people, you know, on Muslims. Like, so that's something to where, I mean, I kind of look at our generation and I'm like, what do we stand for? Like, what do we stand for? Because something like this, generations past, they wouldn't have had it. Their voice would have been heard. We don't have a voice. We just sit back and tweet something and then it's going to die down. Whenever the media stops covering it, then everybody's going to go back to your bed, go back to your iPhones, go back to your video games, go back to your Facebook, whatever the new hashtag, we're going to jump on that. So for me, it's kind of like, I mean, and I talk to my brothers, we talk about a lot of stuff, but it's like, what can we really do to make an impact? Like, is life really worth living if you see this and you just ignore it? And we know as a Muslim, we're not supposed to do that. We know we're not supposed to. As a human being, you're not supposed to do that. I grew up in a public school system, and this is something that I've been just thinking about myself. I grew up in the public school system. In the public school system, we studied World War II to a T, right? That's like glory time for America. We studied World War II a lot, and World War II was one of my favorite subjects because my grandfather actually was a part of the U.S. military in World War II. So of course I'm paying attention to it even more. So as we're growing up, we read The Diary of Anne Frank. How many people have read that book? Right? You read the Diary of Anne Frank. You watch movies like Schindler's List. How many people have seen that movie? Have anybody seen Schindler's List? And you read this stuff, you watch these movies, and you see this stuff, and you're like, there's no way this happened. There's no way anybody should sit back and allow this to happen. And right now it's happening all over in Muslim countries. And we're just sitting back and now they televise it. Before then, the excuse was we didn't know what was happening. Now they televise it. I even seen a picture that was so disgusting where they had people sitting in lawn chairs watching bombs drop. Like, that kind of stuff is like, what can we really do? Like as seriously, as Muslims, as Americans, as people who live, and we're supposed to be in a democracy to where the government works for us. We have to figure out a way to where our voice can be collectively heard. A hashtag is not going to do it. Because you see someone hashtag Free Palestine or say something like this, and then the very next thing is some vine of something that's just stupid. Who's going to take you serious? Or you post a selfie next. Who's going to take you serious? You just put that up there for retweets. We know in Islam everything is by intention. Everything is by intention. And if you put that in there just so you can feel good and say, I did something, or I'm going to get a lot of retweets, that's all you're going to get. We're not really helping. So we have to figure out collectively how we can do something. And I don't know who's going to start it. I don't know where it's going to start. But individually, we should be having this conversation of, does my oatmeal still taste great when I know this is going on? Does my car look as nice when I know this is going on? We're sitting here 2 o'clock in the morning, not a care in the world. We're not worried about nobody raiding us right now. We're not worried about nobody blowing us up right now. Our safety, does our safety feel as good when we know what's going on? This is something that we have to ask ourselves. And if you're always plugged into video games, if you're always plugged into playing, you won't know what's going on in the world around you. And then when you do know what's going on in the world around you, how do we respond in a positive way? So, like I said, this is something to where my brother and I, we've been talking about a lot of stuff, and inshallah, definitely want to reach out to other people, but we got to do something. You can't just sit back and be a couch potato. You can't. Like, so, inshallah, I mean, if you guys feel a certain way and your parents are talking and your uncles and the people in the community, tell them, say, hey, this is not just a conversation. Something needs to be done. Good?
Just like what said brother Hussain Abdullah, that was amazing. I hope we all can thank Hussain Abdullah for coming to IANT at 2 a.m. So, jazakallah khair. So right now, what we're gonna do, without
the guru will come closer. When he's successful, come closer. So this man is like, he's crazy, like, you know, whatever. He's successful, he's going to teach him success, let me do it. He walks in closer, got water to his waist. And the man's like, I'm closer, you want to be successful, come closer. Now this man's like, you know what, I'm already wasting my water, I'm wearing a suit, and I'm out of here, man. This is not worth it. So he's getting ready to turn around and go back. But the guru goes like, I thought you wanted to be successful. And the man's like, I did. I want to be successful. Like, you want to be successful. Come closer. This man's like, fine, whatever. He turns back and he walks closer to this guru until he got water to his shoulders. And this guru grabs this man's head and puts his head under water. And this man's flopping. Oh man, this guy's trying to kill me, oh man, someone else. And this guru keeps this guy's head underwater. This man is struggling. Right before this man's gonna pass out, he lifts his head up. And he gives the guy a minute to catch his breath. And then when the guy catches his breath, he goes like, what did you want to do right now? When I had your head in the water, what did you want to do more than anything else? And then he goes like, breathe. I want to breathe. The guru goes like, when you want to be successful, as much as you want to breathe, that's when you'll be successful. You have to want to be successful. That's the first key to success. You have to want. Some of us say we want, if I ask y'all, I want to be successful, I want to control all those radio things. We all say we want it, but we don't really want it. We just kind of want it. We only little bit. We want to be successful, but you don't want to be successful as much as you want to sleep. If I said, hey, wake up every day at 3 in the morning, and you'll be successful, I don't know if everyone is listening to be getting up at 3. I know I don't be getting up in the morning, so it's really good. But some of us don't want success as much as we want to sleep, as much as we want to eat, as much as we want to use our cell phones. We have different things that we want more than success. So when you want success as much as you want to breathe, and breathing is fine, it's like you can't breathe. So if you want success as much as you want to live, that's when you'll be successful. The Prophet ﷺ wanted to be successful. If he didn't, he wouldn't have quit when the people of Mecca stoned him, when the people of Mecca rejected him. The Prophet had quit, he wouldn't be here today. But we are here today. In a masjid, surrounded by Masahib. We're all Muslims here. And that all happened because the Prophet ﷺ never quit. Alright, so now the main star behind success. Alright, sounds good. So this is the main point of success. If you want to be successful, you have to have a purpose. Prophet ﷺ had purpose. We were his purpose. He wanted each and every one of us to go to Al-Jannah. When the people of Mecca came to him, they told him what? They told him, hey, yo, look, we'll give you all the money in the world, we'll give you everything, we'll give you all the power in the world, just stop preaching Islam. And what did he tell them? He said, he said what? If you put the sun in my right hand and the moon in my left hand, I'm not going to stop. He didn't care about the money. He didn't care. He knew success isn't about the money. He had a purpose. And for him to be successful, he had to fulfill that purpose. So if you want to be successful, you have to have a purpose. What's your drive? Why do you wake up every morning? Why do you go to school? What drives you to do what you do? Purpose separates ordinary people from extraordinary people. Have y'all heard of Kevin Durant? I'm pretty sure y'all heard of Kevin Durant, right? Kevin Durant plays for the Oklahoma Thunder. Kevin Durant has purpose. When Kevin Durant scores, he doesn't start showing off. And, oh, LeBron, look at that. I just switched a 3 on you. He doesn't do any of that. He's a real quiet player. Doesn't say a thing. He just does his thing and keeps on going. And he's scary because of that. He doesn't get in your head. He doesn't try to do that. He just makes his points and he moves on. But
one thing special about Durant is he has purpose. You look at him before a game, and you look at him after a game, and you'll see he'll do a few things. After the game, he'll go up to his mom, he'll kiss his mom. Before the game, he does something very special though. You know what number Kevin Durant is? Kevin Durant's number 35. Y'all know why he's number 35? There was a coach in Kevin Durant's life who changed his life, which changed him from a street boy to a professional, to an athlete, to someone who could do what he does in the NBA. His coach was killed when he was 35 years old. Not when Kevin Durant was 35, but when his coach was 35. Kevin Durant wears the number 35, and before each game, he pats the 35 on his front and the 35 on his back, because he remembers his coach every time he plays. He plays to honor his coach, and he's not going to stop playing until he got that championship ring on his finger, and that's it. That's his purpose. So when 2 seconds are left on the clock, he's about to take a game-winning shot. He's not thinking about the people watching him. He's not thinking about the money he's going to be making that shot. He's not thinking about any of these things. He's thinking about his coach and what his coach taught him, and how his coach taught him not to break under pressure. Each and every single one of y'all is special. We were all born with a purpose. But the question is, what is that purpose? How do you figure it out? You got to study yourselves. And that's something we fail to do. We fail to evaluate ourselves. We spend so much time with other people. We know what everyone else likes. We know what everyone else is worrying about, what everyone else is thinking about. We forget to study ourselves. We forget to study what matters to us. We forget to evaluate ourselves. I can tell you Ahmed's going to be a mathematician because he's good at math, or an engineer or whatever, because I know Ahmed's good at math. But when you look at yourself, like, what am I good at? What am I going to be? It's hard to do that because we don't do that a lot. We don't think about ourselves. We always think about others, not ourselves. To understand your purpose, you need to first understand yourself. And that's one of the first steps you need to take to become successful. The Prophet ﷺ used to do this. He used to go to Cave Hira. He'd sit down, he'd think about himself, he'd think about the world, he'd think about a lot of things. We need those moments of self-reflecting. We need to think about ourselves. I urge each and every one of y'all, tonight, or later on, maybe you're going to go home, take a nap, y'all probably tired. But later on today, grab a piece of paper, and on one side write your strengths, and on the other write your weaknesses. That'll teach you a lot about yourself. One of the problems with our society nowadays is everyone's purpose is somehow tied to money. A lot of the people you see in college, if you ask them why they're doing what they're doing it for the money. A lot of these, all these majors, engineering majors, lawyer majors, pre-med majors, all these majors, they're in it for the money. And there's a problem with that. And to relate that problem, I'm actually going to tell y'all relate this to gazelles and lions. Why is the lion the king of the jungle, not the gazelle? All right, let's think about this. The lion we know is the king of the jungle, not the gazelle. When the gazelle wakes up every morning, he knows that if he wants to live, he has to outrun the fastest lion. When the lion wakes up every morning, he knows that if he wants to live, he has to outrun the slowest gazelle. Right? So when a gazelle runs from a lion. But when a lion runs to a gazelle. The gazelle stops running when the lion's not chasing it. But the lion's always running. He's always looking for that gazelle. So when people run after money, once they get money, that's it. It's over. They've accomplished what they wanted to accomplish. They stop doing what they want to do. Money is not an end. And I have like 2 long stories. I don't think I have enough time to elaborate on these stories. I'll touch on them real quick though. So let's say you are after money. Let's see what money does. Let's say you are after money, right? So right now we don't have a lot of means, right? We're all probably going to school. You can't make big money right now. The easiest way, maybe $5, cut your mom and dad's lawn, clean the house, another $5, here and there, do some chores here and there. You save up 20, 30, 40, 50 bucks. What do you do with that 50 bucks? You buy yourself 100 packs of gum. You take that gum to school and you start dishing out gum. You become a really good gum dealer. Before you know it, you got teachers coming asking for gum from you. You're selling to your teachers, selling to everyone, you're making a decent amount of money. One day this kid comes up to you, he's like, yo, dude, if you can get me a foot long, I'll give you 20 bucks. Like 20 bucks? Cost me $5 to buy that foot long. I'm gonna do it. You find a way to sneak in a foot long into your school. You give the kid a sandwich, he gives you his 20 bucks. You're like, I can totally make a business out of this. and you start scheming around. Before you know it, people come to you, they order whatever they want to order. They'll get a Big Mac from from Burger King and a McDouble and everything. Before you know it, you're like the central restaurant HQ, underground headquarters of your school. And you're dishing out burgers left and right, and you're doing your thing, and you're making a lot of money, right? And once you think everything's nice and dandy, once you start to relax, once you're like, I got this, this is it, this is life right here. Once that happens, commotion starts to stir. Parents get worried now. Parents are mad that children are getting fat. They don't know who's feeding them all this fast food. The school starts to investigate. They find out you're responsible. What do? They come after you. You were at your peak. You had your business running. Nothing could go wrong. The school comes after you and they shut you down. They're like, you can't sell no more on campus. That's it. No selling. Right? So you go from nothing to something to everything, right? You got your business running, and then boom, one day it all stops. And that's death. If you work for money, you might make money all your life. And more, and more, and more, and more. But one day it's going to come to an end. And that's for sure. But your good deeds, they never come to an end. They're everlasting. Paradise is everlasting. If you look at the life of someone that runs after money, they spend 40 years of their lives, teaching. They spend 40 years learning, becoming the person that's capable of making money. They spend the next 30 years maybe using that money, spending that money, enjoying that money. And then they spend by 40 years earning it, 30 years spending it, using it, 70 years old. By the time they're 70, they're too old to use the things they bought. They're too old to drive their Lamborghini. They're too old to walk around their $1 million mansion. They're too old for all this stuff. Then they start to realize they're going to die, that there's an end, and that they have to work for their akhirah. And that's when they start doing good deeds. That's when you see them coming back to the mosque. But at that age, they're sitting on chairs. They can't make sujood. And I know people that cry. Well, I have old men that cry because they can't put their forehead on the ground, because they can't make sujood to their Lord, right? So this life of chasing money, it has an end. And you realize later on in life, unfortunately, it takes some people a long time to realize that money is not the end. We should not run after money. You spend all your life, you spend 40 years of your life learning to spend it for 30 years, and as you're 70, you don't know how you might live 10, 20, 30 years, but you spend those years at the end of your life repenting, wishing you could go back and tell your 10-year-old self that, hey, you got to invest in your akhirah. You got 70 years of sins to repent now, and you don't even know how much time you have left. You don't. So use your time now, invest in your akhirah. It's the best investment.